Hey, so check out this story really quick. This story, for me, blew my mind. A good buddy of mine, George, who's a master's grad, he works in the financial advisory realm with a lot of believers. And this story he shares is one of the most disruptive that I've ever heard. It's about a man, let's call him Mr. Smith. He goes into his financial advisor and he basically is taking inventory over his life, what he's invested in, as well as kind of just taking an assessment of how rich he really is. Now watch this. The advisor says, Mr. Smith, can you tell me all the assets that you actually have? And could you just list those for me? And he immediately goes to business and saying, I own this business, I own the building that the business has, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so as he lists all that out, he goes, okay, Mr. Smith, can you tell me what sort of possessions and other assets do you have? And of course, he starts listing off homes and properties and all this kind of stuff. And he goes, all right, now Mr. Smith thinks he's done. He's like, I need to find out how much equity I have and what my worth is, my net worth is. Well, he starts asking Mr. Smith these questions. What sort of equity do you have with your spouse? And he goes, well, to be honest with you, my wife's my wife. We've been married, 45 years, and everything's been great. We love it. We have a wonderful marriage. And he's like, okay, what sort of assets do you have with your children? What sort of equity do you have there? He goes, well, my wife takes care of my kids. I take care of the business. I'm the provider, but my wife takes care of my kids. And so financial advisor then goes to the next step and says, okay, can you tell me about the relational equity that you have with friends and your sphere of influence and the people that you know, the relationships that you have? And he goes, well, I don't have any because I don't have any time because I've been building my business to be a good provider. He says, Mr. Smith, well, if you're making all this money in business and if you're crushing it out there in the world, you're underwriting a lot of things that happen with ministry and you're using that to further, kingdom causes, whatever. He goes, well, I sometimes tithe and, depending on if there's a need that's happening at the church, etc. But he goes, okay, so let me get this straight. You have all of these assets. You have all of this wealth. You have no relational equity. Your marriage isn't being used for ministry. Your parenting and the relationship with your kids isn't a performing asset in terms of your legacy and your fruit growing on their tree. In addition to that, you don't have any other time to cultivate relationships with other people and relational equity there. And you haven't deferred anything in your entire portfolio of your life towards those things that have eternal value. Whew. Man, is this a sobering reminder of stepping on the scale of wondering what we will do with our time, talent, and treasure in terms of how it will be measured. And where we think that we're rich, we're actually poor. Jesus, when he actually encountered the rich young ruler, that was the same idea. He was rich here, but the one thing he lacked was not just generosity, but tying his performing assets. I don't care if it's a home, if it's a car, if it's the land that you have, the assets that you have, taking those assets and leveraging them for eternal purpose. My friends, listen, here at the Master's Program, we are in the business of doing everything possible to help men and women like you become the most optimized, the most efficient in their stewardship as possible. We want to help you arrive on that day abundantly wealthy, not just in this prosperity idea, but ultimately partnering with the Lord in terms of helping further his kingdom through your unique abilities, through your business, through your outlets, through every sphere of influence that you have, that you can honestly say with peace of mind, if you walked into that financial advisor, you'd say, hey, on earth, on paper, I might look like I am poor here, but I am actually abundantly wealthy. Have an amazing day. I hope this just challenges you in a wonderful way, helps you sharpen the saw, and helps you live on purpose. That's why we're here. We're in your corner. Have an amazing day. See ya.